You are listening to the Estheticians Anymore podcast with Brittany Hageman, episode number 165. Okay, so today I'm going to do something that I haven't done before in this kind of detail, and that is I'm going to tell you my entire journey from when I became an esthetician to when I started making over $100,000 in my esthetician business. Because I think there are a lot of things in my story that hopefully can give you some inspiration, to give you some insight, and to also give you some context of like what is normal and not normal when it comes to growing your business. So, quick backstory. If you didn't already know, I was working at Target as an assistant store manager. And I started 2012, I want to say. And I never really wanted to work at Target. It was after like the big financial meltdown that we had in 2008. I had a hard time getting a job out of college. I like making more than $25,000 a year. Also didn't make that much money when I first started working for Target. I worked my way up, got promoted, and then was making like $75,000 a year, but I absolutely was miserable. My hair was falling out. It was a really hard job up until when I had my daughter. That was it. I said, like, especially opening a Target store, which is what I did, but before I quit, was the hardest thing I've ever done. And then having my baby was the second hardest thing. I did a whole episode on my postpartum experience and why it was so hard. But my hair was falling out. I was so stressed out, and I knew it wasn't sustainable. And I didn't even like want to work there, you know. And one of my good friends she still does hair and makeup for mostly for weddings in San Diego. She also does some film and some other things that she does for hair and makeup, but she's a cosmetologist, and she was like, you could come and do makeup for me. And I really thought that was where I wanted to go and do makeup, because it was like, how much fun would that be to play with makeup all day? So long story short, I quit, went to esthetician school, got my license, and while I was in school, I was shadowing her and learning how to do like wedding makeup and use the airbrush tools and things like that. So I worked for her as an independent contractor. It truly was. She'd be like, hey, these are the dates. I need weddings. Do you want to work or not? She paid me a flat rate per person I did. And it was a really great way for me to make money and to get my foot like in the aesthetics world. And I started working for a solo esthetician who's a great esthetician, very, very booked out, could not accommodate any new clients, let alone her current clients. And I met her through my massage therapist. They were in like the same salon studio, and she offered me a job, but it's not legal. It's definitely not legal now. It wasn't legal then. She also hired me as a contractor, which technically doesn't work in an esthetician environment. So I only got paid if I had a facial. So I didn't have like a schedule or an hourly rate. And then if I had like commissions and I had like all the other things, it was like I only got a commission. It was only commission based if I had a facial and if I sold products. That was the only way I could make money. So if I didn't have someone, I didn't make any money. So I kind of started learning right out of esthetician school what it was like to put myself out there. And she definitely helped me, obviously, because she told all of her clients about me. She told them that I was great, but a lot of them like had zero interest in seeing me because they loved her, right? They were devoted to her. And honestly, we have very different styles. I learned a lot from her, but ultimately we are very different estheticians. And so occasionally some of her clients would see me if they couldn't get in with her and like they had to reschedule or something and they really wanted a facial. Almost never did they stay with me. They always went back with her. I think they had like two people that like liked me just as much, and it was easier to get in with me, and so stayed. But I remember if I would see like if one of her clients would come and be on my schedule, and then like I would see them book back on her schedule, it would just like break my heart, right? Because I was like, what did I do wrong? They didn't want to stay with me. And so one of the ways that she grew her business was Yelp. And I think that Yelp is still pretty used today, but not to the degree that it was used like 10 years ago when she's probably been in business for more than 10 years, honestly, probably more like 15 years. But back when she started her business. And so she was like, you need Yelp reviews. So I called in favors from everyone I knew. Please come get a facial. I just charged them the cost of the facial, so they would pay for like all the services, like all the products and stuff that it cost the woman I worked for. And I think it was like $20. And I had them do that, and then they had to write me a review. So I could just get my name on the Yelp page, on her Yelp page, so that people, when they went to it, they were like, oh, Brittany is great, because people think she's great. So that was months. So I started working for her in July 2016. And I want to say it wasn't until like January did I start to have regulars. And she also had a membership, which was helpful because then I could convert people to being a member, just a little bit of a discount. So I always would get everyone to be a member. And she didn't sell a lot of products, and something that I was trying to learn and I felt very insecure about. And I've talked about that a lot on this podcast about she sold Rhonda Allison. I also brought on PCA because that's what I had learned in school. And so I started selling a little bit of PCA, kind of enjoying seeing how people liked it and feeling really nervous about recommending the wrong product. That was my biggest fear. And don't want to come across as salesy, and I didn't want to feel anyone felt pressured. And I was, developing relationships. And I realized very quickly that an esthetician business is such a relationship-based business. And I was developing relationships with my clients. They were coming monthly. I had 5 members, 5 people that came every month to me. And then it slowly started to gain. I think I had 25 members when I left. I remember correctly. And so I was slowly starting to gain. I started to get some more referrals. People started coming in with Yelp. But I still was promoting myself on Instagram. I had my own Instagram account, and I was promoting what I was doing, even though nobody was coming in from my Instagram. I was constantly trying to keep that energy going. And at the same time, I was still doing makeup, and I realized I needed more money. The makeup was good in the summertime and the fall, but then wintertime, makeup really starts to slow down, and I really needed extra money. And so I went and I got permission from my woman I worked with, and I went and got a job at a local spa just so that I could make more money. And I was getting married, and I just I was doing better in my clientele. I was able to make money, but I wanted to make more, and I had the time because I only had the woman I worked for. She was in the room during the day, so I only had the nights and I think Sundays. And so I didn't have a great schedule, which was fine. And so then I had the days that I could go work at a day spa. So I did. And I really wasn't that busy there either. I think if I had stayed longer, I would have definitely gotten more and more regulars. But the thing that I learned the most from working there was about Face Reality, which was the acne line that I ended up falling in love with, and seeing wait, I really could specialize in acne. And while I was working for my solo esthetician business owner, I instantly loved acne. She taught me how to do extractions. I painstakingly perfected it. Painstakingly perfected how to do all of the things. It was not oh, this is so simple. And I just picked it up, and it was not a thing. It took me months to really figure out how to do them less painfully. There's so much to learn, I think, when it comes to extraction. So I really spent a lot of time when I was working for her learning, just from trial and error, honestly, on my clients. But I started to really niche down in acne while working for her. And so when people would write reviews on Yelp, they would write Brittany and acne, those things were tied together. And so I was kind of excited about that, but I wasn't getting the results I wanted with PCA and Rhonda Allison for their people's acne. I could see it wasn't enough. And I had experienced that as well, because I had acne and always felt that way with lines, yeah, you give me salicylic acid and benzoyl peroxide, and we're still here, right? I'm still breaking out. So I went to the woman I worked for, and I was like, listen, I want to bring on Face Reality. I was still a contractor. I wasn't an employee. I was like, you can get a cut of what I do. Like, we can create a system. I wanted to get there was like a room next door opening up. I was like, how about I get that my own room? And then I get all the acne and you do all the peels, like the heavy peels and other things that she does that I didn't like doing. And she was like, absolutely not. I don't want to do that. And so it just kind of became clear at that time as well that she really needed an employee. I think she, like, from a tax perspective, she realized that like it wasn't working having me be a contractor and she wasn't making that much money. And so she wanted me to become an actual employee at that time, which actually was the right legal decision. But I was like, no, it was going to be a big pay cut for me. And so we split ways at that point, but she was very generous and she was like, you can have all of your clients, which is not common. And I know that. So I would say about 10 to 15 people followed me, which was fantastic. They were all facial clients. Some of them had mild acne. And through that process, one of my facial clients, her skin had improved considerably with acne. She had very mild acne and it had gone away. And that was my only before and after. And it wasn't like even that significant of a before and after. It was very mild. And I remember when I was looking to open my own business, which I had never ever intended having my own business, because one of the reasons I want to be an esthetician was it just to like go to work, do my work, and go home. Like, I didn't want to have to worry. I didn't want to have to stress. I didn't want to feel the stress of growing a business. But then I realized I basically had done that working for the solo esthetician, and then even my other esthetician business, trying to get people to rebook. I realized it's a lot of the same skills as owning your own business. And so I was like, okay, I have the clients that I have, if they come every month for a facial, it would cover my costs. I wouldn't be making any money, but at least I wouldn't be going negative. And that was really important to me to figure out that before I signed a lease and all the things. So I opened BLH Beauty in October 2017. I also got married that year, like right before I got married, came back from my honeymoon, opened my business. It was like a whirlwind. So it was a little over a year after I got my license, and I just had my facial clients, and they knew that acne was what I wanted to do. I brought on Face Reality. I did the training again through Face Reality so I could sell it myself. And I was very excited and very terrified at the same time, because I had never cleared anyone using Face Reality. Face Reality is very complex. There's a lot to learn. At the time, it was a very, very small company. As I've said before on this podcast, their Instagram was Face Reality Acne Clinic. If you needed help, you would just call them. You'd email them as well. But it was a very different world than it is today. And people didn't know about Face Reality. Clients didn't know about it. I always had to tell people about it. Almost never did someone like come to me wanting Face Reality. And so my friend, and a couple of friends in the industry. So my friend, her name's Alice. She's the one that does the hair and makeup. That I was working for her doing makeup. And she was like, you need to just offer free facials or like $20 facials. Just like walk around and offer, like, in your shopping center. I was in a busy shopping center. Like, just walk up to people and offer like $20 facials. And she did that when she was growing. Like, she used to cut hair as well as doing makeup, and she was cutting hair, so she was like offer like severely discounted haircuts, and then people would come back after that. And I remember like hearing that and thinking, well, I guess I can never do this. And this is the part of my story that I really want you to pay attention to. Not to say you can't do that. If that feels like you can do it, you should definitely do it. Like, do anything you can to make people know about your business. But I knew, like, walking up to someone, first of all, with an acne treatment, asking them to come in for like a $20 acne treatment, there's so many reasons why it wouldn't work for me. But even if I was just doing a facial, like, I don't know, walk up to a stranger. It brought me back to my Mary Kay days where like we were supposed to like, what's it called? Warm chatter or something. What is it called? You guys know if you've done Mary Kay. You're supposed to like talk to people like in the grocery store, give them your, it was like flashing back to that. I was like, what have I done? I can't do that. And Instagram was pretty new, and it was just pictures. the time there was no stories, it was just pictures. And I was like, well, I have to figure out a way to like advertise and market in a way that isn't me walking up to strangers and talking to them. And I'd asked all of my friends and clients to write me Yelp reviews on the Yelp page. And I started tracking like how far I was up on Yelp and seeing like how that worked. And I would like always be like in trying to figure out their algorithm, and Google as well. Google reviews didn't exist at the time, but trying to make sure that my website would be the top if you search like acne treatment San Diego. So I was like working on those things and learning those things. One of the things that my friend Alice told me as well, she's like, get your SEO working. And so I spent a lot of time figuring out how to do that. So I started doing that, and then I would sometimes advertise through Yelp, because Yelp at the time, it wasn't that crazy to advertise, and I had some good reviews, and so like also bumped me up in the Yelp algorithm. Honestly, advertising was one of the reasons I did that. So I was doing that, and then I took a marketing Instagram course just to learn how to make your grid look really nice and how to like simplify your message. And I just went all in on those things. So I was constantly making sure my SEO was good, constantly making sure my Yelp was higher, marketing on Instagram, and then talking about my business to everyone I knew, telling them about my referral program, trying to get people in. Then the other thing that I did, and I actually just found them the other day, I found my journals, is I was journaling every day, and I'm going to go and look at them and look at like what I was writing, because I would write down my goals every single day, and I would write them down in the way that I teach my clients now. And I remember like I flashed back instantly when I saw the journal. I was like, I remember writing this and thinking this is the craziest thing in the entire world. And then a few months later, you see me write different numbers, and like my numbers went up. Actually, I'm going to grab those journals for you right now. Okay, so I have actually split this episode into two. So I'm sorry that I'm ending the episode here, but I spent a lot of time talking about what I journaled and every day and kind of my process with that. And that took a lot of time. So I'm ending this episode today. Next week, you're going to have the second half of this episode where I talk about the journaling process and exactly what I journal and how I do it. So thank you for listening. I hope you got some great inspiration from today's episode. I hope you started to see that my path was not linear. It was not just like one thing after another. It was a lot of problem solving, a lot of trying things, a lot of putting myself out there. I talk more about that next week as well. Also, if you've been interested in thinking about doing that confab with me, which is a limited time offer I'm offering only this month of August. Sign up now. You have to, it expires September 1st. You can use the call in September if for some reason you can't get my calendar in August. But if you want to just chat with me about one or two things in your business, you just want to have a one-time call, that is what to do. I'll put the link in the show notes. Have a fantastic week, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye for now.